Live from the Business RadioX studio inside Renaissance Bank, the bank that specializes in understanding you. It's time for North Fulton Business Radio.
And hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of North Fulton Business Radio. I'm John Ray, and we are broadcasting as usual from inside Renaissance Bank in beautiful Alpharetta. And if you are looking for a bank that is big enough to handle pretty much any need you can throw at them, but they're small enough to deliver their service in a personal way, I have found that combination at Renaissance Bank. My clients have found that combination at Renaissance Bank. It's not just me. And that's what I continue to hear from people that work with this bank. So if you're in a position where you need a better banking experience for your business, go to renaissancebank.com to find out more. Check out their some 200 offices around the Southeast, and I think you'll be glad you did. Renaissance Bank, understanding you, member FDIC. And now I want to welcome Steve Aleksandrowicz. Steve is with Medicare and Other Red Tape. Steve, welcome.
Good morning.
Hey, great to have you here.
Great to be here.
Great to have you back, actually. So Steve is a return guest, and Steve is also known, a.k.a. the Medicare man, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there you go. I love that. So, Steve, let's talk about what you do and how you serve folks out there through Medicare.
Yeah. So I am a insurance broker. I specialize in Medicare health insurance options. I've been doing this for just about 12 years. I started in 2011, back in July 2011. Started with 12 clients. Today I have almost 500 clients today.
Wow.
And I work with one person at a time. Each and every one of my clients is special, and they have all their own unique needs. And my job is to find out how I can bring solutions to the table in the world of Medicare and Medicare secondary health insurance.
Well, and I love the name of your company because it is definitely red tape. That's actually putting it in a kind way, right? And I think what you're getting at there with that name is the fact that there's a lot of information out there, and it's hard to get through, figure out like what you ought to listen to, right?
Yeah.
And because people are pounded by all the ads on TV and, all the information that's on the internet, that half of which has got to be garbage, I would imagine.
The marketers have your name. Once you turn about age 64, when you're approaching that magic age 65 to turn Medicare eligible, the marketers have your address, and your mailbox will explode. So you're getting hit from all different directions from marketers, whether it be direct advertising, or sometimes unconventional, not quite what we call would be legal, unsolicited phone calls, emails. I've even had clients that had a stranger knock on their door saying, "Hey, welcome to Medicare. I heard you're going to be turning 65.
Really?
So I hear it all from my clients.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I see what's coming for me. So, okay. Well, Steve, let's, I want to talk more about that in a second, but let's kind of talk about the basics of Medicare. So particularly people that are on Medicare understand it, but I want to talk about the basics for those that are coming up to that point. When do you have to start worrying about Medicare? What are the rules? Let's go through the basics.
So for those that are turning 65, that's when eligibility starts for Medicare. Some people will be eligible for Medicare before 65 if they're on disability for 24 months plus. And then typically one wants to, if we're approaching, say, the age 65 factor, one wants to start somewhere 6 to 12 months ahead of time, learning just about how Medicare works, how the options work, and what's going to be their best option going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when you say eligibility starts at 65, that's required at that point, right? So you have, am I correct about that? You have to come off whatever health insurance plan you're on to go on to Medicare? Or how? Talk
yes.
about how that works.
So not quite.
Okay.
If some people will be, for instance, if they're on ACA or individual coverage, once they turn Medicare eligible, they need to take Medicare.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a lot of people working past the age of 65 who have employer health benefits. And as long as they meet the credibility of Medicare's protocol for coverage, they can remain on their employer coverage if it suits their needs.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's options are different. Some people are paying for their health coverage through their employer. Some people are getting it for little or no cost. So what we do is we have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
If those people who have coverage, who may want to remain with that coverage, we have the conversation, do I stay or do I go?
Mm-hmm.
For those that they don't have an option to stay, they have to go, then we sit down and talk Medicare 101 and talk about the options and zero in on what's going to work for them.
Okay, cool. So, and that makes sense. I'm although I ought to be thinking about it, I'm not thinking about those that work past 65. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But so let's talk about how you walk someone through that decision tree, if you will, on what they need to do.
So there's a lot going on when we're starting with Medicare. First off, they need to either sign up with Medicare. What happens is if somebody is not collecting Social Security yet, most people are waiting past 65, they have to initiate the sign up for Medicare, which starts 3 months before their birthday month. If one is already collecting Social Security, the government is going to automatically enroll you. So that's the first step, is sign up.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have to have a conversation and talk about how the government program works, because original Medicare A and B with the government, which started in 1966, has developed and grown over the years, and so have the secondary options. But the basic hospital A and the medical part B comes from the federal government. But those that have A and B also need to look at a minimum of a Part D drug plan, which is sold separately by private health insurance.
Mm-hmm.
They need to look at the possibility of a Medicare secondary supplement or Medigap plan sold by private insurance. And then we see a lot of interest in Part C Medicare Advantage, which is sold by private health insurance and is a completely different way to receive your Medicare benefits through a managed care plan. And buyer beware, these options are not a one-size-fits-all. Everybody's situation's unique. We need to sit down and talk about the basics and then talk about the secondary options. And I need to do a real analysis of each and every one of my clients' needs to go forward and figure out the best avenue.
So what are some of those variables? I know there's a complex answer to this question. I get that. And everyone's circumstances are different, but just give an example of what some of those variables are when you're thinking about those additional plans.
Well, when people are looking at traditional Medicare products like Medicare supplement, Medigap plan, and a Part D drug plan, those are traditional products. Those have your typical Medicare supplement plans have what they call portability. You can go anywhere to any Medicare provider. They're basically secondary. Medicare's primary. So anything that's a Medicare approved expense, that supplement plan comes in and just pays your share of the out-of-pockets according to the plan's coverage.
Mm-hmm.
And you can use them anywhere in the United States. There's no networks. Your Part D is sold separately. That's for prescription drugs. That's a whole different set of circumstances where we have to look at your individual prescription drug needs. Some people are taking 1 or 2 medications. Some people I have are taking 10 to 20 medications. And that could be very complex. So there's a lot of research that needs to be done that we find the right fit plan. And then this Medicare Advantage Part C is sold as an option. I call it option number 2. Going away from traditional supplement in Part D, you can go into a managed care plan, and those will wrap in your hospital, your medical, and your prescription drug coverage all in one. Sounds like a real nice, neat package, but you have to look at it from the fact that you need to look at the area you live in. These plans vary not only from state to state, but county to county. You need to make sure the doctors you wish to see are going to be in the plan's network. You need to make sure your prescription drugs are going to be covered and affordable. And if you're traveling, you want to make sure that plan's going to be accessible to you if you're out of state or out of the country.
Right.
So a lot of we have to gather a lot of data and a lot of facts to figure out what's a good fit for my client. And what happens is when people are approaching Medicare, they're inquiring friends, relatives, their next door neighbor, their people at church, their doctor's offices, and everybody has their own opinion. And a lot of times people have coverage that works great for them, but it may not be the best option for the next person.
Right.
Even among spouses in the same household.
Really?
So I'll have people in the same household. One spouse is on one form of coverage. The other spouse is on the other. Works both great for each one for their choice of coverage.
Yeah.
And that's my job, to make sure it's going to work and we have a happy family.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Steve Aleksandrowicz is with us, folks. He is an insurance broker with Medicare and other red tape. So, Steve, I want to shift gears for just a second and talk about your passion for this business. I mean, you obviously have done quite well in building your client base, but I mean, why Medicare insurance versus any of the other things you could be doing, right? Why did you develop such a passion for it?
So great question, John. Part of the journey, because I started about 13 years ago in the life insurance business, and I really enjoyed what I was doing, but it just wasn't working out to pay the bills. I still had one child in diapers and a lot sitting on my plate. And I had to kind of just take a quick reevaluation of things. And a relative in the family was already doing Medicare health insurance. They've been in the health insurance business for over 30 years. And I inquired, and they said, no, you may not want to do this. I said, no, I'm interested. So I went ahead and looked into it deeper. And what I found out was when I started selling Medicare, I found out I really had a passion to help people, especially our seniors, because I felt they were the most vulnerable. And quite frankly, I feel that they're the most preyed upon. And kind of like the Cape Crusader, as my buddy Bill gave me the name Medicare, man, I'm out there with a cape trying to help these people. And I really feel strongly that I want to do my job right. I want to find out the facts, and I want to make sure my clients are going to have the coverage they need. In my little world, I'm trying to do the best I can for the people I serve.
Well, I love that, and thank you for that. And yes, seniors are preyed upon, and I would imagine this happens as folks age, and there are shysters out there that sow doubts about the coverages they have and that kind of thing, and that's where you come in, right? You're there to hold their hand.
Absolutely. And I tell my clients exactly that. I say, hey, look, I am here to hold your hand anytime you need me, because you're going to have a question. You don't need to call 800 numbers. You can call, text, or email Steve. I'll get around to answering, even after hours on the weekends. I've done it for my clients because if something important arises, if an emergency arises, I want to be there for them.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's all about just taking care of the client.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what I just alluded to, which is after you get that coverage initially, let's say it's at 65 and your life changes over time. And how do you need to have a conversation every year or so to talk about your coverages and see if those need to change in some way?
So I try to recommend to my clients to reach out to me, or let's just sit down on an annual basis. Some people don't want to be bothered. They won't talk to me for 3, 4, 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I might send them an email and, just a hello and hello back. Thanks. And then I have other clients I'm talking to 2, 3, 4, 5 times a year. Whatever's going to work for my clients, I want to be there to fulfill those needs.
Right.
But if it's an annual, just sit down conversation, even if it's just for 2 minutes, just to make sure what they have is working going forward, because yes, life changes and it changes in a nanosecond. I've sat down with the healthiest people who claim to be the healthiest people. Mm-hmm. And 6 months later, I'm getting a phone call and fire alarms are going off in their life because all of a sudden a health condition arose and their doctor wants to perform a battery of tests and they don't know what to expect. And their anxiety is up on a 10 scale, and I'm there to bring them back to a 2 or a 3 and say, hey, it's all right. You've got coverage. Or if we need to develop a game plan for some changes going into forward, we're going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So are there enough changes year to year in Medicare itself that people should have a conversation with you annually, or does it, I'm trying to get at how fluid the Medicare program is, right?
So the program is changing year to year and sometimes midstream. And what I try to do is put a radar on my clients who if I see a change coming up, I can go out there and head it off and just reach out and have a conversation with them. Mm-hmm. Well, ideally, a once a year review, whether it's for 2 minutes or for an hour, depending on, again, each and everybody's situation is different. But yes, everybody should always reevaluate their coverage on an annual basis, just to get at least a quick check and acknowledgement what they have is good going forward. Mm-hmm. And I have those conversations, it seems like, on almost a daily basis.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things that I've heard you talk about is that your services are free. Yes. So explain that for people.
So, we are by law, we're not allowed to charge our clients. Although I have actually heard of some brokers charging a fee, that's actually illegal, folks. The federal government says you cannot charge any fees. So how do we get paid is probably a good part one of that question. So any insurance products I sell are typically commissionable, which means I'm going to make a commission. Some products are not. And even at times I will sell a product that doesn't pay a commission if it is in the best interest of my client, because I always feel about paying forward. But also the government regulates how much we can make. And that's to put a fair level playing field on commissions so that when we're serving our clients, we're not enticed as brokers to put them on a product that may not be the best fit because somebody's looking for that almighty dollar. Right. At the end of the day, I get paid. Even on a non-commissionable product, I could tell you, John, so many people that I've turned around and said, hey, look, we're going to get you on this plan. I may not be contracted with this carrier, but it's in your best interest. And they'll have the concern, well, what about you? And I said, look, don't worry about me. Fact is, those people are my best advertisers. Those are my marketers. Those are my clients are my marketers. They're the ones word of mouth from the streets coming in and giving my good name to their friends, their family. And that's how I earn my business.
Yeah, I can see why. That makes sense. But let me make sure that I draw this out just a little bit. So, if I go to, the government website directly and buy my own coverage, which is possible, right? If I want to do that and I want no help, I want to go in blind, I can do that.
Yes.
I'm going to pay the same premium that I would pay if you were to help me, right?
Exactly. Great question.
Yeah. So the whole point here is that the commission is built into the premium, and you can either choose. The choice is not the premium cost. The choice is whether you're going to get help.
Yeah.
and because you're paying for it anyway, so you might as well come see Steve Aleksandrowicz and get Steve's help as opposed to flying blind. Do I have all that right?
Exactly right. Thank you for mentioning that, because if you go direct online or call an 800 number, you can sign up for the exact same plan I'm going to offer, and the cost is going to be identically the same. Fact is if you go online or if you call the 800 number, you're probably not going to get that person a second time, because everybody, and I mean just about everybody, always has a question or a concern going forward. And if you could call the same number and get the same guy to give you the answers, I think people find a lot of value in that. And I always tell my clients, I am the added value person at no additional cost.
And you mean to tell me that, like, that celebrity, former pro athlete or actor, that they won't call me back? Is that what you're telling me? I can't believe that, Steve.
Yeah, and unfortunately, they make a great show there on TV and all the free benefits you deserve, but you're not going to talk to that guy or gal, and you're not going to get the same person when you call back on the phone to that 800 number. Well,
I'm of course being highly facetious, but let's address this directly, if you don't mind. So, why? I mean, these are big companies that are doing this, right? They must be, to be able to afford the ad budget they have. So why work with Steve and Medicare and other red tape versus these big companies?
So we're the local people, and being local, we know how the products work in this area, because these Medicare options not only vary from state to state, but from county to county. We know the hospital systems. We know a lot of the doctors and the care providers. We also network within the senior community. So we know a lot of the nuts and bolts and how everything works. When you call an 800 number, you're gaining a national brokerage. All they do is pull up a computer screen, they type in your zip code, and they say, hey, this is what's hot in your area. They have no idea how that plan is really going to work in the real world for those people. Do they truly have the access to care? Are they going to really be able to see the providers they want to see? And is the plan going to have portability? Because people do travel these days.
Right.
So there's a lot of important facts. That's what the local guys and gals bring to the table. We have that knowledge that those 800 numbers don't have.
Yeah. Wow. Steve Aleksandrowicz, AKA Medicare Man. I love it. I love that. Who gave you that name?
Our good friend, Bill Neglia.
Okay. Bill, shout out to Bill Neglia for that. Steve Aleksandrowicz, Medicare Man. He's an insurance broker with Medicare and other red tape. So, you go out and do presentations.
Yes.
Right. So talk about how and where you do that, and maybe folks that might be interested in having you come present.
Yeah. So that's a big part of our organization. Our agency owner, Bonnie Dobbs, She is very big on going out and teaching the public about Medicare to small and large groups. Sometimes we have half a dozen people in the room. I've been in auditoriums with over 100 folks, and they come around to see us. We've done this on an annual event. Of course, during COVID, that kind of got shut down. We're back in the groove again, and we're back out there on tour, folks. And anybody who's interested that would like to have us speak, I love to come out. We do a compliant PowerPoint presentation. We don't pitch sales. That's a big no-no in our industry. We are about going out and teaching the people we serve about how the Medicare program works, all the different, the new meaning of your ABCs and Ds and so forth of Medicare. And whether you're turning 65 soon or you've been on Medicare for 2 decades, there's always something to learn, and we love teaching people.
I love that. Steve Aleksandrowicz has been with us, folks. And Steve, I want to get to the most important question here, because I can't imagine there aren't some folks that want to be in touch with you after hearing what you've had to say and your passion for this work. So let's give them directions on how they can be in touch.
Yep. So my phone number, my everything number, which is area code 404-642-5188. That is my direct everything line. You can call me, you can text me, and I'm also available through email, which is simply Steve and AZ Insurance @gmail.com. SteveAZinsurance@gmail.com. And of course, John, that AZ came from my last name, which 14 letters starts with A and ends with Z. Aleksandrowicz. I'd never make anybody spell that out.
Yeah. A guy named Ray could never spell that. That's why my last name is Ray. So you're a better man than me, fella. Steve Aleksandrowicz, insurance broker with Medicare and other red tape. Steve, this has been great. Thank you so much. And thank you for your work. It's an honor to be able to have you here and celebrate that work.
Thank you, John. Privileged to be here.
Absolutely. And folks, just a quick reminder, if you've got dysfunction in your back office that involves administrative tasks that you're spending way too much time on instead of working with clients, or you've got bookkeeping issues, the shoebox is overflowing with receipts, and you really need a better system than that, I've got an answer for you, and it involves picking up the phone and calling Essie Escobedo, 770-442-9246. Essie is the chief executive angel at Office Angels. And yes, they are angels. I know this. I use their services, and they are fantastic. And what they do is you call Essie, describe what your issue is, and what she does is find the best angel that can fly in, get the job done for you, and fly out. And they do it on an ongoing or as-needed basis. If one project they're happy with, or a longer-term relationship. So you can go to officeangels.us to learn more, but my suggestion is just call Essie, 770-442-9246, and let her know that we sent you. And folks, a big thank you to you, our listener. You have have supported this show over the last almost 7 years that we've been doing North Fulton Business Radio. We are now up to show number, I think, 645, something like that we've done over these past almost 7 years. And one of the reasons why we continue to do what we do is because of your support. And one of the ways you've supported is you have shared the show. You share the show when you hear somebody that you think a friend or a colleague needs to hear about their services. And you know, if you know someone that's getting close to age 65 and their mailbox is about to explode and they need some help, well, here's a great show to share. And, of course, all the other shows that we've had, we've got tremendous business leaders from the North Fulton region. So please continue to share the show. That's helpful to those individuals and to us, frankly, as we continue to be the voice of business in the North Fulton region. So for my guest, Steve Aleksandrowicz, I'm John Ray. Join us next time here on North Fulton Business Radio.